recording. And so we are here. I'm Lisa Kastner. I'm here with Curtis Smith, one of our amazing authors. And we're here with 20 questions. So with that, I'm going to just launch right into it. What is the very first book you remember reading?
And I think the first book I ever read was Green Eggs and Ham, but I don't remember reading that. I think my first reading experience would be there was a book in my elementary school library about Napoleon, and
Oh,
I remember being told I couldn't check it out like in first grade, so I waited until like third grade, I guess, until I got to that reading level. But that's the first one I really remember. Oh, I want to read this book, and I've been waiting to do that. So
wow.
that one, I'm sure there were others in between, but that one really sticks out.
That's impressive, actually.
Yeah, It was one of those. I forget what that series was in elementary schools back at the time, but they have very distinctive artwork, and
Hmm.
uh, there was one about Betsy Ross, and that whole gang.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I remember that book distinctly.
Ah, I love it. Who is your favorite author? Period. Who's your favorite
Okay.
author?
I think if I lean the right way, you can see my Vonnegut box set behind me. I
Yes.
would have to. He was my like, he was my gateway in high school. In high school, I was one of those guys who read everything Vonnegut, um, and it was cool because I wrote a book a couple years ago about Kurt Vonnegut and his book Slaughterhouse-Five. So
Mm.
I don't write anything like him, but I think part of his sensibilities and his voice kind of still resonates with me even after all these years, and I'm thankful for that.
Mm, very cool. And who influenced your writing? It doesn't have to be an author.
I saw this question and I thought about it, and I think the biggest influence on my writing was when I did an MFA program, and
Oh,
I did and I went there, and I it really struck home that there's a lot of really smart people who are good writers who want these selected spots in literary magazines.
mm,
And I think that influenced me in the sense that I really have to up my game in
mm,
order to compete with these people. And I think that kind of influence, rises above, most teachers, because I didn't really study writing in college or
mm.
anything. I kind of came into it later in the game. Um, but yeah, just knowing that they're being able to visualize and see my people who I would be competing with, and who all wanted to do the same thing I did. That was a big influence on me.
Very cool. Um, what, which books made the biggest impact on you?
I think you'd have to look back at different stages of life. I think of different books, kind of the way I think of albums. Like, oh, that album was my year I turned 22, or and we have those music things, and I have book things like that. I think oftentimes if I'm about to start a big project and I know, oh, it's a novel, I'm going to be doing this for the next couple of years. When sometime during the process, I pull out, James Salter wrote a book called Light Years, which I think is like really beautiful and really lyrical, and it depresses me for a couple days because, oh, it's just so good, and who am I kidding? Um, but then it
Okay.
motivates me, like, oh, I got to try, and it just strikes me every time. So I kind of come back to that for a little. It's almost like a little pep talk.
Oh, I like it. Actually, I love it. Very cool.
But yeah, it's a great book. I mean, it was really important to me once I read it, and it doesn't disappoint on further visits, at least for me.
Excellent. If you could read only one book the rest of your life,
It would have to be some poetry anthology of some kind. Um, it would have to. I think I would need something sparse. If I only had one book, I need that sparseness of poetry to, to kind of just listen to the language like music,
Mm.
and to kind of like let it breathe. I don't know if I could do like a dense book, like a prose book. So I would go with some sort of anthology of poetry. I hope I don't have to pick just a single author. I would like a variety of voices,
Oh
if
yeah,
I could. I'll take that then.
yeah, definitely. Um, what do you reread all the time?
Well, that James Salter book.
Okay.
I do, the classes I teach, I do revisit things like each semester and each year.
Mhm.
I don't have to reread, my fiction that I give them as much, but I do like to reread the poetry that I give them, and um, just to come in fresh. And poetry, often strikes me as different, when I come back to it and revisit it. And maybe it's because I'm not a poet. I've published other things and nonfiction, but my mind just doesn't work a poetry way, and I think I enjoy it on that level of consuming it and reading it.
Hmm. If you okay, what book would you save in a book burning?
Can I go for all of them? That's a horrible answer.
No, I
No,
would probably do the same.
no, no. Hold on. Before I say all of them, there's like the Glenn Beck books and the Rush Limbaugh books. I might let them. I might let them feed the fire. Um, Everything else that tries to be literature, I would give it a shot.
All right. Um, and what inspired you to write your latest book?
Okay, so the latest book is coming out in September. It's The Lost and the Blind. Um, this book had a weird origin. Like the first chapter of the book was originally a short story.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it got accepted into a literary journal, and then that literary journal, there were some college funding things that went on, so it got delayed, and then COVID hit,
Mhm.
um, and then it got really delayed, and so it doesn't exist anymore.
Mm.
But that's even when it was sitting there, I kept coming back to that story, which is something I never do.
Mm.
I once I write something, it's sealed away. I never think about it again.
Huh.
Um, but this story, I just kept coming back, and I think I could do something more with something is calling me. So, when the pandemic hit, this was my pandemic novel, and I just, there's a lot of underlying anxiety, I think, and weirdness here, but it was definitely fueled by that time, and I really, um, it has nothing to do with the pandemic, but it really kind of, I think, has that sort of uncertainty
Mm.
vibe to it, and it really came together well. Oftentimes novels take me a longer period of time. I've been kind of clicking with a sort of novel mindset recently, and how to organize and structure them.
Mm.
Um, and I'm not saying it's going to work for my next novel, but it's been working the past couple novels. Uh, and I was just, I had some extra free time. It was the pandemic, and I just, I really dove into it, and just, you know, it came together nicely.
Yeah, and we are all happy for it too.
Awesome, awesome. I'm
Absolutely.
looking forward to sharing it with the world.
Yes. Let's see. Um, who did you allow to read The Lost and the Blind as you were writing it?
No one, no, I don't show my work to
No?
anyone. No, because I'm at that stage of my career. I used to have like a writing group, and I used to have friends from my MFA days that we would, not share stories, but we'd share our novels. Um, no, I'm just in a place now where I feel pretty confident. Now, if I was stuck and not
That's
feeling it, I would reach out to some people, because I still read, for other people, and I'm happy to do that.
different.
Um, but no, I didn't share, and I haven't done it for the past couple novels.
Wow. Very cool.
Yeah, it works for me. Yeah, so
Works for us.
it works for us.
If you were at a dinner party with four seats, what 4 authors or other people would you invite to your table?
Okay. Now, I'm really antisocial when it comes to, uh, you
You're
know,
allowed to be.
okay, that's my, you know, I would rather eat with, I hope this isn't a cop out. I'd rather eat with friends I haven't seen in a while than meet someone new. I mean, Kurt Vonnegut, if I could summon him, I would definitely like to sit with him. Um, I think I would like to talk to George Saunders. I think see the videos he makes and I share them with my students, and he seems like a, really, personable, guy. I got to say Barack Obama. I think he would
Yeah.
be awesome. Yeah. I got one more. Let me think.
And it
Let
doesn't
me
have to
think.
be anybody famous or anything. It could truly just be,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm going famous. I'll go with Meryl Streep. I think she's pretty awesome.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope she would have fun. I don't say much, so she could talk to the other guys that are there.
I was gonna say that, yeah, the other attendees could entertain her. So,
I would be entertained just by listening. I would
uh,
like that.
oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, what is your drug of choice?
This is like a Sophie's Choice thing going on here. I'd say morning is coffee and evening is a beer. That's
Nice,
usually, I'm a creature of habit. That's usually the bookends of my days.
very nice. What book is your guilty pleasure?
I don't think I have one. If I'm taking the time away from my writing to read,
Hmm.
I want to be like challenged. I like reading books that I get through. I'm like, what did I just read? And I enjoy that. I'm still trying to. I just read the 2 new Cormac McCarthy books, and I'm still trying to wrap my head. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I'm smart enough, but I enjoy that challenge. I am trying to teach. I'm teaching a new novel course next year, which is a year-long novel course, and
Oh wow, cool.
yeah, oh yes, I'm so excited. I do love teaching as well. And our books are falling into different categories, and each semester I'm trying to read a comedy. And I don't know if comedy suffices as a guilty pleasure, somewhat, I guess, but we're doing Election, which is a book I love, and Nick Hornby is about a boy.
Mm.
So I don't think they qualify as guilty, but they're probably as light as I'm going for a while.
That works.
All right.
Do you read with music or with quiet or some other sound?
So for me, the process of writing is there's 2 distinct halves of it, and one is, I spend a lot of time with the idea part of
Mm.
things. I plan out scene by scene, and then I get to the end, and I start weaving threads through. Because for me, the act of thinking about where it's going is very different than putting that pen on the paper and putting it in a sentence. Because I think I'm a very sentence driven person. I like the rhythm of sentences. I like that part, you know, and I can't do that part in story at the same time. Um, so oftentimes with the thinking about where it's going, the planning part, I do have music on in the background. And I've listened to almost Kind of Blue, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of times maybe. And it's just, I couldn't tell you the tracks on it, but it's just there in the background. So I like that jazz, I like the, classical in the background. But when I go start writing, pen on paper, I can't have music on. It has to be as quiet as it can be.
Got it. Yeah, I understand that because I hear the story in my head. So It's like I have to experience it. I can't,
Okay.
which
Now,
sounds
did,
incredibly creepy.
did, do you go from story in your head then to pen on paper, or is there some sort of like, I'm going to block this out kind of?
Like, there's there's usually a period where I'm discovering what the story is, and so it's and part of that discovering of the story is basically writing it out.
Okay.
But like I dream it, so
Yeah.
that like there are different techniques that you can learn to experience uh different narratives and then kind of like play them through. So yeah,
In your dreams.
in my dreams, yeah.
Okay. Because I was talking to this about my students sometimes, is that sometimes I start dreaming like in words. Like I'll
Mhm.
see words like superimposed on things. I'm like, that I'm too deep into what I'm doing right now. It's like invading my dream.
Yeah,
But I'd like to check out that dream thing. That sounds pretty cool.
yeah, it's very, yeah. I'll tell you about it when we're done.
That sounds cool. Yes, I'd like to read that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Um, if you could ask for one thing to change the world, what would it be?
Oh boy. One thing. Oh boy. Um, I wouldn't know where to start. Honest to goodness. Just wake up, believe science. Let's just start with believe science. All right. Um, and I think if we believe science, maybe everything would kind of
Fall
follow
into place.
suit, from
Yeah.
there. Read some more poetry, think about interconnectedness, hopefully that would all follow, after believe in science.
Mm. What does your reading environment look and sound like?
Um, I have a couch where I read, but I'll read anywhere. I'll sneak moments. I don't socialize much at work. I kind of shut the door and I do my work and I read. I'll read wherever if I can read like 10 minutes. But my extended periods are like in the living room. We got some nice light, the couch, and you know, I'm a very slow reader.
Mm.
I'll read very slow, and then I'll go back and read. Oh, how did he do that? And oh, that was kind of cool. So my reading can sometimes be the better the book, the more fragmented it gets. So I have to keep going back and back.
Yeah, understood. Do you prefer paper, ebook, or audiobook?
Oh, paper. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, paper. Paper all the way with writing, paper all the way with reading. Yeah. I
Okay.
get too I have too much screen. For me, work a screen is work.
Uh,
And I like to disconnect from that once in a while.
mm, yeah, makes sense. Who would you cast as your main characters and why?
I thought about this, but I filled out something else, like who would, be a good character for this. I have no idea of any actors who are like this age. You know, I read this article the other day about ranking the Saturday Night Live musicians from last year,
Uh-huh.
and boy, did I feel old. I do like three of them,
Oh, boy.
and I'm missing out on that target audience. And my movie going, you know, I haven't been to the movies since COVID, and
Mm.
I've done a lot of streaming stuff, but I'm more of I'm a big 70s movie guy, and I'm a big 30s movie guy, and I do love movies, but I really wouldn't know anyone of that age group. Hopefully someone would know a lot more than me of what's going on currently.
That is a perfectly acceptable answer.
Okay,
Just so you
for, for an old guy, he's
know. If you could meet anyone, who would it be and what would you ask them?
I can meet anyone. That's a good one. I already said Obama. I'm going to stick with him, man. I would like to just like sit down and, shoot a few baskets and just say, hey, chat. Now, maybe I have a different, uh, view of how friendly he is, but I think he seems like a pretty cool guy. I would love to hear his take on things, um, and it would be a thrill. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, very cool. Describe yourself in 5 words.
Okay. uh, I'm pretty low key.
That
That's
counts.
hot. Is that one or is that hyphenated? I was worried about this.
Uh,
Um,
no.
uh,
Don't worry.
I am. I guess I'm a real creature of habit. So maybe habit. I don't know if that would cover it all, but I get up every morning and I work every night and I work every day. And I always tell my students like for any sort of artistic endeavor, we have to. I think it helps us to rate our priorities,
Mm,
right? And for me, it's like family, work, my art. I go to the gym every day,
beer.
and beer, and after beer comes like the abyss, and then uh, whatever is down there, it's like it's just a cauldron of undone stuff. So up until that certain, and that makes it easier to do art, I think,
Yeah.
because I said, oh, this is more important than watching this. This is more important than this. Um, so I got my habits, low key. I'm a listener.
Mm,
I tend to hang back and listen. Um, let's go
yeah,
with 3.
I like
Let's
it.
go.
No, that's great. That's perfect, actually. um, describe your life in 5 words.
Um, I'm going to go back to low key. And
Count
it's
that as
pretty,
two.
it's pretty, it's pretty unspectacular. I do enjoy going to work every day. I do enjoy coming home and spending time with my family. Um, and I enjoy working, on my art and my writing. And,
Mm.
I'm pretty fulfilled that way. So work, I'll say work 3 times and then low key. We'll
Perfect.
go with, we'll go with that.
Perfect. What was your last guilty pleasure?
That's a good question. Sometimes I think about, I have like a streaming music thing as I wash the dishes. We don't have a dishwasher. We're like the Flintstones. We don't have a microwave. We don't have a dishwasher. So I wash the dishes every night and listen to music, which is kind of a nice time.
Yeah.
Um, and oftentimes I'll like ask for like a guilty pleasure sort of song. Um, and I think my last was I have a thing for the Supremes, and I think,
Cool.
yeah, I forget what song it was, Love Bug, I think it was. It was
Yeah.
a guilt, and I thought this is a guilty pleasure.
Very nice. Very nice. If you could write yourself into a novel, would you be a hero or a villain and why?
I'm more of the no, I'd be neither. No, I'm more the guy who gets like knocked off in the second reel. I'm one of the expendable ones. So no, neither hero nor villain.
I
For
see.
that one.
I adore you more and more every day.
Ah, thank you.
Fabulous. Is there anyone you dream you could work with and why?
I do like, I might not know many young actors, but I really do admire a lot of the new filmmakers out there.
Mm,
I think, and I know I love the 70s, I really, really love the 70s movies. And in the 90s, I thought we went through another really great age of film. And then, I see some of the things people are doing now. Maybe it's because that industry is so fragmented now, and maybe we're letting some of these voices come in, but like Paul Thomas Anderson and even just to hang out with Martin Scorsese for a little bit. I'm so intrigued by the new movie that's out. So
oh, yeah.
yeah, I would love to, just talk to some of these people. Tarantino, just pick their brain. Not that we would get along, but I would love to, I think we're coming from very different places and energy levels, but I think, I think it would be cool to just hear them talk about movies. And, that while I love movies, I don't think I'd ever want to write one. You know, I,
Mm,
I kind of like what I do, but, yeah, I kind of like I kind of like that visual way of thinking, and I
mm,
like that visual way of storytelling, and I kind of find that intriguing.
mm, mm. What animal would you run wild with?
Well, I'm a dog person now.
There you
About
go.
about I don't know, like 10 years ago, I got my first dog, and I never thought like, oh, I always thought just dogs, but man, I love my dogs, and so it, it's cool to be, my age and find out something like that. So I've turned into one of those,
Ah, I love it.
talking to my dog, and
I love it. When was the last time you actually ran wild? And what did you do? What made it wild?
I I probably haven't run wild for many, many years,
Time?
and I'm sure there were things I would rather forget about my running wild days of yeah, I better stop there before I got myself in trouble. But I was a young guy in the 70s and the 80s, and yeah, there was a lot of that.
Got it. No problem. Yep, I understand.
You were there.
I was there. um, so, do you write to music? And if so, what kind?
No, no. I mean, not the. I plan to music,
Okay,
but
interesting.
not right. Um, I'll write longhand. I got to write longhand and then
Mhm.
revise longhand and revise again. I can type to music because to me, typing is the least enjoyable moment of this whole thing, because I'm not a good typer.
Ah,
But I can have music on in the background for that, but it can't be, there can be no lyrics. I just got to be like instrumentals.
got it. Yeah, I understand. I understand because I end up typing it.
Okay, yeah.
Do you, okay, Disney, Universal, Warner Brothers, or other?
If I don't know any of the first three, I couldn't differentiate between one or the other. I really couldn't.
Right.
Um, you know, I see certain movies I like. Like, oh, I liked Iron Man. Which one is he? I don't know. And I like Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought that was kind of cool, but
Yeah,
I really wouldn't know between them. So I'm gonna go with the other.
got it. Okay. Uh, I think you already answered this, but tea or coffee?
Coffee, coffee for sure.
Appetizer, appetizer or dessert?
Both, maybe, it all depends what they are. Certain places I like the appetizer, certain places dessert. So
Sure.
I'm gonna go with both for that one. Maybe
Chocolate or vanilla?
vanilla.
And is there anything else that you'd want to share?
Um, No, I just thanks for checking it out. Hope you'll want to, check out this new book. I think it's exciting. So, um, looking forward to the date when I can share it with everyone.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Curtis. And as always, a pleasure.